Құрметті Қасым-Жомарт Кемелұлы, аса қасиетті Рим Папасы Франциск,
Your Excellency President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev of Kazakhstan, Your Holiness Pope Francis, Your Excellencies, Reverend Fathers, ladies and gentlemen, guests of the Congress. We have gathered here in order to draw conclusions at the deliberations of the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions. Yesterday's plenary session has been rich in content, and today, before noon, there will breakout sessions that also engaged in a very productive conversation. Over the last 2 days, I can say that a very open and serious dialogue has taken place. The participants and guests of the forum have discussed the agenda of social and spiritual development of humankind in the post-pandemic world. Also, the role of the potential of religions has been identified in overcoming geopolitical challenges, conflicts, in strengthening peace. Religious leaders from the podium of the Congress have voiced interesting messages and important ideas. I hope that such ideas will make an indelible contribution towards building a harmonious world. And in the important ideas of the 7th Congress are reflected in its final declaration. And in the final declaration, in this document, we pay special attention to the need for humanity to unite to overcome the aftermath of the pandemic. In the declaration, we have identified the relevant challenges that humankind faces in order to establish dialogue and to stem conflict and tensions. The draft declaration has been reviewed by the working group and at the Secretariat of the Congress. All the received proposals and recommendations have been taken into consideration. All the participants of the Congress have received a copy of the declaration, and I hope that this declaration will go a long way towards cementing and strengthening interface dialogue and finding common solutions for the relevant challenges of the world. At the Secretariat of the Congress, the date and the venue for the next 8th Congress were reviewed. A proposal has been made to hold the next Congress in 2025 in the capital of Kazakhstan. And this proposal is also featured in the declaration. Unless there are motions to the contrary, I move that the declaration of the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions be adopted by unanimous declaration. Ladies and gentlemen, now let us move to the reading out of the final declaration of the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions. Now I would like to give the floor to the special representative of the Anglican Church at the 7th Congress, Bishop of Dorking, Most Reverend Dr. Joe Bailey Wells. Please.
We, the participants of the 7th Congress, spiritual leaders of world and traditional religions, politicians, heads of international organizations, guided by our shared desire for a just, peaceful, secure, and prosperous world, affirming the importance of shared values in the spiritual and social development of humankind, recognizing the necessity of countering and overcoming intolerance, xenophobia, discrimination, and conflicts based on ethnic, religious, and cultural differences, respecting the richness of religious and cultural diversity, realizing that acts of charity, compassion, mercy, justice, and solidarity contribute to the rapprochement of peoples and societies, recognizing the value of education and spirituality for personal and interreligious development, affirming the importance of the role and rights of women in society, stating that material inequality leads to discontent, social tension, conflict and crisis in our world, recognizing the importance of addressing global challenges in our post-pandemic world, including climate change, poverty and hunger, organized crime, terrorism and drugs. Condemning in the strongest terms the extremism, radicalism and terrorism which lead to religious persecution and the undermining of human life and dignity. Condemning the creation of hotspots of interstate and international tension in the world. Expressing serious concern about the global increase in the number of migrants and refugees in need of humanitarian assistance and protection. Expressing a firm desire to contribute to the creations of conditions for reconciliation and dialogue between conflicting parties. Realizing the urgent necessity for spiritual and political leaders to work together in addressing the challenges of our world. Welcoming all international, regional, national, and local initiatives, especially the efforts of religious leaders to promote interreligious, intercultural, and intercivilizational dialogue. Expressing the intention to intensify cooperation between religious communities, international, national, and public institutions, and non-governmental organizations in the post-pandemic period. Reaffirming the work of the Congress of the Leaders of World and Traditional Religions as an international, interreligious dialogue platform for representatives of many religions, confessions, and creeds. And pointing out the opportunity of the Congress of the Leaders of World and Traditional Religions for taking further specific steps to expand interfaith, interreligious, and intercivilizational dialogue. We, the leaders of this Congress, have come to a common position and declare the following. Number one, we will make every effort to ensure that the Congress of the Leaders of World and Traditional Religions continues its regular activities for the benefit of peace and dialogue between religions, cultures, and civilizations. Number two, we declare that in the conditions of the post-pandemic development of the world and the globalization of world processes and security threats, the Congress of the Leaders of World and Traditional Religions plays an important role in the implementation of joint efforts to strengthen dialogue in the name of peace and cooperation, as well as the promotion of spiritual and moral values. Number three, we recognize that the negative consequences of pandemic disease can be overcome only through joint effort, working together and helping each other. Number four, we are convinced that the unleashing of any military conflict, creating hotspots of tension and confrontation, causes chain reactions which impair international relations. Number five, we believe that extremism, radicalism, terrorism, and all other forms of violence and wars, whatever their goals, have nothing to do with true religion and must be rejected in the strongest possible terms. Number six, we strongly urge national governments and authorized international organizations to provide comprehensive assistance to all religious groups and ethnic communities that have been subjected to infringements of rights and violence by extremists and terrorists as a result of wars and military conflicts. Number seven, we call upon world leaders to abandon all aggressive and destructive rhetoric which leads to destabilization of the world and to cease from conflict and bloodshed in all corners of our world. Number eight, we call upon religious leaders and prominent political figures from different parts of the world tirelessly to develop dialogue in the name of friendship, solidarity, and peaceful coexistence. Number nine, we advocate the active involvement of the leaders of world and traditional religions and prominent political figures in the process of conflict resolution for achieving long-term stability. Number 10, we note that pluralism and differences in religion, skin color, gender, race, and language are expressions of the wisdom of God's will in creation. Thus, any incidence of coercion to a particular religion and religious doctrine is unacceptable. Number 11, we call for the support of all practical initiatives to implement interreligious and interdenominational dialogue for the sake of building social justice and solidarity for all peoples. 12, we stand in solidarity with the efforts of the United Nations and all other international, governmental, and regional institutions and organizations to promote dialogue among civilizations and religions, states, and nations. Number 13, we recognize the importance and value of the document on human fraternity for world peace and living together between the Holy See and Al-Azhar al-Sharif, adopted by the UN General Assembly in Resolution A, Res 75-200 of December 21st, 2020, and the Makkah Declaration, adopted in Mecca in May 2019, which calls for peace, dialogue, mutual understanding, and mutual respect among believers for the common good. 14, we welcome the progress made by the global community in the fields of science, technology, medicine, industry, and other areas, yet note the importance of their harmonization with spiritual, social, and human values. 15, we realize that social problems often push people to extreme action and call on all states of the world to ensure adequate living conditions for their citizens. 16, we note how people and societies which dismiss the importance of spiritual values and moral guidelines are susceptible to lose their humanity and creativity. 17, we call on world political and business leaders to focus on overcoming the imbalances in the development of modern societies and to reduce the gap in the well-being of different segments of the population and different countries of the world. 18, we note the positive impact of dialogue between leaders of world and traditional religions for socio-political processes in states and societies, contributing to the preservation of peace. 19, we proceed from the immutable fact that the Almighty created all people equal, regardless of their racial, religious, ethnic, or other affiliation or social status. Therefore, tolerance, respect, and mutual understanding underpin all religious teaching. 20, we call on political and public figures, journalists, and bloggers to beware religious generalization and not to identify extremism and terrorism with whole nations and peace-loving religions. 21, we advocate increasing the role of education and religious formation in strengthening the respectful coexistence of religions and cultures and debunking dangerous pseudo-religious prejudices. 22, we pay special attention to the importance of strengthening the institution of the family. 23, we stand for the protection of the dignity and rights of women, the improvement of their social status as equal members of family and society. 24, we note the inevitability of global digital development, as well as the importance of the role of religious and spiritual leaders in interacting with politicians in solving the problems of digital inequality. 25, we strive to develop a dialogue with the media and other institutions of society to clarify the significance of religious values for promoting religious literacy, interreligious tolerance, and civil peace. 26, we appeal to all people of faith and goodwill to unite in this difficult time and contribute to ensuring harmony and security in our common home, planet Earth. 27, we appeal to all people of faith and, 27, we turn to pray in support of all people of goodwill on the planet who make a significant contribution to the expansion of inter-civilizational, interreligious, and international dialogue for the sake of a more prosperous world. 28. We call for supporting acts of mercy and compassion in regions affected by military conflict as a result of both natural and man-made disasters. 29. We call for solidarity in the support of international organizations and national governments in their efforts to overcome the consequences of the COVID pandemic. 30. We affirm that the purposes of the Congress and this declaration are to guide contemporary and future generations of humankind in promoting a culture of tolerance, mutual respect, and peacefulness, available for use in public administration of any country in the world, as well as by international organizations, including UN institutions. 31. We instruct the Secretariat of the Congress to develop a concept for the development of the Congress of the leaders of world and traditional religions as a global interreligious dialogue platform for 2023 to 2033. 32, we affirm the role of the Republic of Kazakhstan as an authoritative and global center of inter-civilizational, interreligious, and interfaith dialogue. 33, we thank the Republic of Kazakhstan and President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev for their human initiatives for convening the 7th Congress of the Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, and for their contribution to creation and progress, peace and harmony. 34, we thank the Republic of Kazakhstan for the excellent organization of the Congress, and to the Kazakh people for their cordiality and hospitality. And 35, we confirm our collective interest in continuing the activities of the Congress of the Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, and our intention to convene the next 8th Congress in 2025 in the capital of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Nur-Sultan. This declaration was adopted by the majority of the delegates of the 7th Congress of the Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, and is being transmitted to the authorities, political leaders, and religious figures around the world, relevant regional and international organizations, civil society organizations, religious associations, and leading experts. It will also be distributed as an official document of the 77th session of the UN General Assembly. The principles contained in the current declaration can be disseminated at all regional and international levels for consideration in all political decisions, legislative norms, educational programs, and mass media in all interested countries. May our aspirations be blessed, and may peace and prosperity be granted to all peoples and countries. From the Republic of Kazakhstan, Nur-Sultan, September 15th, 2022.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wells.
Уважаемые участники,
Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, dear participants of the Congress, it is a great honor and a privilege to give the floor to guest of honor and participant of the Congress, head of the Catholic Church, His Holiness Pope Francis.
Dear brothers and sisters, we've taken this journey together. Thank you for coming from various parts of the world and have taken the richness of your religion and cultures. Thank you that you've been living through these days of communication, of efforts, and for the sake of dialogue. Such unprecedented during this time that has been darkened not just by the pandemic, but also by the insanity of the war. Too much hate, division, and too little dialogue and understanding of each other. Contemporary world, it is very dangerous. We will not be able to go further if we will stay bound and divided by the inequality. Therefore, I thank you for the efforts towards peace and unity. I would like to thank the local authorities that have warmly greeted us and organized this Congress. I thank the nation of Kazakhstan, hospitable, friendly, and honorable, that is able to host other cultures and preserving its own history and valuable traditions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
La mia visita, che volgo ormai alla conclusione, ha come motto
The motto of my visit that is beginning to end, which is the messengers of peace and unity. The motto is being translated into different languages. This is the 7th Congress that we've been lived through with the mercy of God. This Congress is a very important. Since the very beginning, in 2003, this event was taking place in the example of prayers of peace in the world in 2002, and the Pope John has organized and into the dialogue and harmony between religions. After what happened in September 11th in 2001, it was necessary to react and to react together in a very unprecedented situation, the terrorism that has heated with violent acts, because of which religion was in danger of becoming the source of conflict. Unfortunately, pseudo-religious extremism, radicalism, terrorism, and nationalism that is being masked with the sacredness. And therefore, in these days, we're able to gather together and show everyone the truth and the meaning of religion. By the way, in the declaration provides that extremism, radicalism, and terrorism, and any other hatred and violence or call for war, any other, no matter their motivation, have nothing to do with the true religious spirit. And they have to be condemned in the strongest of possible terms. They have to be condemned without hesitation. And considering from the fact that the Almighty has created everyone equal, regardless of their religious, ethnic, or social origins, we all agree with the fact that in the religious teachings, the main part is the mutual respect and understanding. Kazakhstan, being in the center of the largest strategic Eurasian continent, has become the place for our meeting. Its flag represents the balance between politics and religion. In reality, the golden eagle on the flag represents the earthly power as a reminder of ancient civilizations and empires, and the blue backdrop reminds us of the free sky and represents transcendentness. There is a harmonic relation between politics and transcendence, peaceful coexistence on two very different fields. Difference and not a division. It is all for the sake of human. And just like human, they need free space, not limited by the earthly powers. On the other hand, we do not need to fall onto the earth and to be bounded by the earthly powers. And the love to your neighbors has to be ultimate. And therefore, we say no to the division between politics and transcendentness, because the highest human efforts cannot be eliminated from human lives, and they cannot be connected with the personal sphere. And therefore, those who would like to follow their religion must protect themselves everywhere. However many people are being discriminated and persecuted, we appeal to the governments and international organizations with the request of support of religious groups and ethnic societies, those whose human rights and basic freedoms were violated, and those who were victimized from the side of extremists and terrorists. And as a result of war and conflicts, first of all, we have to apply our efforts so that the religious freedom was not just abstract understanding, but a specific right. Let us protect the rights of every single one of for religion, for hope, beauty, for the sky, because it is not just Kazakhstan, as it says it in their anthem, with the golden sky, with the golden sun in the sky, that every man and woman has their own, is unique. And if they are in connection with God, can see the light. Then the Catholic Church, while tirelessly announcing the value of each person that is being created in the image of God, believes in the unity of human family, believes that all of the nations are one society, or are on one origin. And that's why they were created on the planet Earth. Therefore, from the very beginning of this Congress, the Holy See, especially through the interreligious dialogue, has been actively participating in it and wishes to participate further. Let the path of interreligious dialogue would be a joint one towards peace. It is very essential. We must not deviate from it. Interreligious dialogue is not just a possibility, it's an urgent service towards humankind. And praise be to the Creator. Brothers and sisters, thinking of this joint journey, I ask myself, what is it that unites us? John Paul II, that is 21 years in this very place, visited Kazakhstan, said that all of the journeys of the churches lead to the human, and that human is the way of the church. I'd like to announce today that the man is the way of all religions. Yes, the specific person that has lived through pandemic, that has gone through war. The human is a beautiful creation that it can be lost without its creator, and a person cannot survive without the others. Whenever important decisions are being made, we have to look not at just strategic or economic goals, or a national or energy or war interest, but for the sake of human person. For the implementation of grandiose solutions, we have to look at the youth, their future, at the old men and their wisdom, at the ordinary people and their specific needs. We have to unanimously voice that the human personality is not just industry and salaries. The family in Kazakh, that is being translated from Kazakh, is the place of love, We have to support it in order for our future generation to grow. The mission of all the scholars and philosophers and religious leaders is for coexistence and future prosperity of our, for transcendence and fraternity, transcendence, which is unearthly, serving. It is magical that annually millions and millions of men and women of various ages from cultures and social background unite for prayers. This is the hidden force that drives the world. And then the fraternity, being a proximity to each other. The one who does not love its creations cannot be close to one. This is also prescribed in the declaration of our Congress. And in the conclusion, I would like to say 3 words. First of all, synthesis of everything that is being symbolized in the outcry and ways of our journey is peace. Peace. And peace is a mission for everyone, because every conflict or hotbed of tension or can have a domino effect and seriously harm the international relations. But the world is not just the lack of peace, is not just the lack of wars. It cannot be stabilized. You cannot achieve it with despotic tensions. It's the peace is justice, and his source is fraternity. The peace is achieved not through the fight, but through the fight against injustice and inequality. The peace is created whenever people offer the helping hand to each other. The people must protect peaceful coexistence first and foremost. We must be the witnesses and preach for the peace. Therefore, the declaration provides for the call on the leaders around the world to stop the conflicts and bloodshed and stop the war rhetorics. For the sake of humanity, please take care of peace and not armament. Only by serving peace, our name will be left in history. Your names will be great. The peace is lacking because there is no attention and human warmth and the possibility to give birth. In order to keep peace, we have to pay more attention towards the second word, which is a woman, because it is the woman that takes care of the world and gives birth. She is the key to peace. So we highlight the necessity for protection of rights and social status of women, because she has the same rights in the family and society. The woman has to have more responsibilities, and they have to play more important role. However many deaths would have been saved if women were in control. So we have to direct our intentions and efforts towards their respect, so they would be in all events. And the third word is youth. They are the messengers of unity and peace. First of all, they are the one who are begging for peace, for the sake of the common home of our planet. They reject the logic of exploitation of the government, of capture of resource, of nationalism, war, and the sphere of influence. All of that is being prescribed to the fragile world. All of these fragile religions also belong to the past and not the future. Thinking of the next generations, we have come to the conclusion that education is important, because of which mutual understanding and respectful coexistence is being reinforced between religions and cultures. We shall give the opportunity for education to the youth, and not just for the armament, and let us listen to them without being afraid of their questions. And most of all, let us create the peace with them in mind. Brothers and sisters, The nation of Kazakhstan is open to the future day and has seen a lot of suffering in the past, thanks to their excellent interreligious and intercultural relations. This example inspires us to build a future without forgetting about the fraternity or transcendentness, without forgetting serving and accepting the others. Let us continue our journey by walking together as creators of hope and creators of harmony, messengers of peace and unity. Thank you. Thank you, Your Holiness, for your warm address towards the Congress and our country. Your support is extremely important for the promotion of ideas of our forum. We wish you long years of life and future fruitful service for the sake of humankind. Dear participants of the Congress, the floor is now given to the Grand Imam of the University of Al-Azhar, His Excellency Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayyib. In the name of God, the merciful and compassionate, and peace be upon you and blessings of the Allah. In the beginning of my concluding speech, we would like to express once again the gratitude for His Excellency President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, His Excellency Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, and the noble nation of Kazakhstan, and everyone who was involved in the organizations of this excellent and successful forum on such excellent level. It is very difficult to say or add anything after what we have heard, all of those decisions and recommendations among this forum that were accepted by its members and participants in the latest version. We have heard several minutes before. We presume that they touch upon a lot of issues from which international community suffers, including rich and poor alike. As a result of silence of the civilized world and his absence in regards to the poor and the victims, and those who form the majority of the nations and peoples, and those who suffer from persecution of tyrants, despots, and those prideful on the earth, and those who ignore the holy justice and heavenly wrath, and the warnings of the messengers that the Allah is very slow towards tyrants, but whenever He appears before them, they will immediately have to answer for their crimes. In the conclusion of this Congress, I have to repeat once again that the message of religion will not reach its goal until they are united, until they unite their followers and not become the force that is, first of all, has to act for the cleansing of religious senses from hatred and violence. And this can be achieved with the following. First, to direct the religious activities of various religions towards this humanistic route instead of putting into conflict between confessions and the believers. Secondly, to gather to unite the shared human values among the religions that include the good circumstances and without their differences and their relations with the ones that do not divide them, and translate them with various ways onto various languages. Third, during the dissemination of these shared meanings, we have to focus on the mind and focus on the justice while avoiding the tools that are not there are plenty of hate and ill logic. This is the message of Islam and all of the godly religions in regards to them, and the global dialogue between the believers and non-believers. It stems from the fact that the humanity goals, whenever they become the goals and objectives of interreligious goals, they do not contradict to the canon of religion. Moreover, they reflect their true focus. I, in my experience, believe in the fact that the humanity today, and today we all welcome this initiative despite all our differences between me and my brother of Pope Francis in the religion, in origin, in the language, and the color of our skin, as well as history and our homeland. Despite all of this, despite the radical intentions from both sides try to hinder it. Moreover, some even consider it taboo to convene a meeting between the head of the Holy See and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. But whenever we first met, we had sincere intention. Each of us felt that they know their partner for many years and for a long time. And those hearts were united. We were united with a common friendship. And Allah helped that the code of the human fraternity to be born. This is the document that has become the first code of humanity between the Christians and Muslims and between non-believers in our contemporary world. And this proves the concept that was promoted by Al-Azhar everywhere and every time. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I am one of those who believes that humanity is in dire need of the stages and by the heavenly guidance in the field of holy texts. We hope that the curing of the humanity from its contemporary diseases is, first of all, a lack of a possibility to see the truth. And this is not just the reason of the material progress or growth, but what I believe in is source of spiritual and moral growth in which religions play an important role. Thank you very much for your attention, and may Allah's blessings be upon you. Thank you very much, Your Reverend Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayyib, and your active participation and support of the Congress. We thank you for the promotion of ideas of peace and interreligious dialogue. Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, the floor is now given to the Chairman of the Department for External Church Relations of the Moscow Patriarchate, Antonio Volokamsky. Please, the floor is yours. Your Excellencies, highly reverend and highly esteemed Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, Your Holiness, respected religious leaders, dear participants. This Congress is a unique, not just Eurasian region, but for the whole world, a platform for the implementation of realization of interreligious dialogue. Starting with 2003, the sessions of the Congress are being held regularly and gather prominent religious leaders from all over the world. I would like to thank for these important initiatives to all the organizers of the forum, especially personally to the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. Central topic of this Congress of the Leaders of World Traditional Religions became the strengthening of peace between religions, states, and nations. During our days, this problem is becoming more and more relevant. The God Jesus Christ say that the peacekeepers will be the sons of God. Believers must not outline themselves from those problems that exist in the world, but to take prominent, active participation in understanding and take part in solving the conflicts and helping those who lost. With satisfaction, I would like to know that the final document provides for very important issues. First of all, those are the words of the key role of the spiritual and moral focuses for the stopping of conflicts and preventing of conflicts. The idea of preserving cultures and religious diversity with which nations and religions are united with one values, but at the same time they are preserving their identity. In the post-Soviet territory, we know the value of this approach, and therefore we support interreligious peace. It is hard to overestimate the necessity of religious enlightenment and education that is used for the prevention of radicalism and extremism. That is the protection from manipulation of religion from the side of evil politics. It is very relevant to overcome inequality and injustice in the context of dissemination of resources between developed countries and so-called third world countries, the issues of energy, food, and economic security. This issue is very acute today. I consider it right to simulate the cooperation between religious and national and international as well as civil organizations, because today it is very essential for the world to overcome conflicts and stop the fight for the global hegemony. I'd like to point out the positive fact that the declaration of our forum is based on creating the human and all of that's created by the God's plan about the world, and all those laws about life and likelihoods of big value. Those statements that were voiced by the religious leaders of the world. The declarations are being transmitted to the public places, and they will be announced to the majority of people. Quite often, people forget about simple things, such as the humanity have been kept in the books and providing religion to their souls, and it's very essential that the 7th Congress of the Leaders of World Traditional Religions today once again unanimously reminded them of us. I thank the organizers and hosts of the Congress for the correct focuses. People need to hear those words from the prominent religious leaders. I thank every attendee for the dialogue and for the held, for the conveyed and very successful dialogue. I wish you the strength in this very difficult but very important service. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much, Your Eminence, for this informative speech, support of our Congress, and contribution to the promotion of interreligious dialogue. Dear participants of the forum, the floor is now given to the official representatives of the King of Saudi Arabia, Minister of the Islamic Affairs, of Endowment, Abdulatif Abdulaziz Abdurrahman Al Sheikhu. Please. In the name of Allah, the All-Merciful and All-Powerful, blessing be upon Allah, and let Allah bless and welcome everyone, every of the followers until the Judgment Day. Your Excellency, dear President of Republic of Kazakhstan, of the fraternal nation of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, Your Holiness, Pope Francis, Your Honor, Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, dear attendees, Your Excellencies, Your Beatitudes, peace and blessings of Allah be upon you. I call upon you with the welcomes, and allow me to extend the greetings of His Holiness King Abdulaziz Al Saud and the Prince of Mohammed Al Saud. May God protect them. I'd like to congratulate you, Mr. President, with the success of this Congress that contributes significantly to the interreligious and intercivilizational dialogue. We highly respect your personal efforts. May Allah protect you in the promotion of all these ideas that brings countries together. During this forum, we were able to see the large role and responsibility that is being placed upon religious and spiritual leaders in the world, with the fact that they've become sources of inspiration for the dissemination of shared human values such as justice, kindness, love, and coexistence in order to strive towards the bright and prosperous future. The importance of dissemination of these teachings in overcoming extremism and all of those that lead to the discord between people. In my speech at the opening of this Congress, talked about the leading role of Saudi Arabia for the sake of humankind and strengthening the values of justice and tolerance, because the Saudi Arabia is the place where, as Allah said to His prophets, we sent you as a mercy to the peace. And in my statement, I showed the experience of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the religious activities and combating coronavirus, as well as how Kingdom has contributed into the combating the spread of coronavirus. And Saudi Arabia is a bright example in combating this pandemic. Dear Mr. President, dear attendees, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and represented by the King of Al Saud, with the permanent control of the Prince of Al Saman. They support the international efforts in combating terrorism, extremism, and they contribute into the intercivilizational dialogue through their high message that is being based on peace and tolerance. We confirm the importance of disseminating the values of respectful coexistence between nations that are being represented in various sectors. In conclusion, I would like to express my gratitude to the President for their hospitality and warm welcome, and wish all of you and the fraternal nation of Kazakhstan promotion of dialogue and progress under your wise leadership. Peace be and blessings of Allah be upon you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for this informative speech and constant support of Saudi Arabia, of our Congress. Dear participants of the forum, the floor is now given to the Chief Ashkenazi Rabbi of Israel, David Lau. Dear Rabbi, the floor is yours.
In the name of God, the Almighty, I would like to commence with words of gratitude to our hospitable host, President of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, for excellent organization, stewardship, and for all the support that you have steadfastly shown to us in holding this Congress and in gathering all of us here under one roof as equal participants of this Congress. And by doing that, you support peace. Thank you very much for your activities and for your constant, invariable support. And we have high hopes for the 8th Congress in 3 years' time. Ladies and gentlemen, in our book of prayers, of Jewish prayers, there is a appeal, there is a prayer with which we address the Almighty every morning. We say, God, please help us, give us the strength to see in our neighbor, in all of his advantages and not in disadvantages. Yes, we know that we all have flaws, but we ask God to see only the good in the other, only the good. And we also add another important thing, another important consideration, so that people talk to each other, talk to one another, openly, honestly, in good faith. And that's why we beseech God to let us, help us, give us the strength to talk to one another. Because God is our Father, and He is equally concerned for all of us, and He wants for His children to talk to one another. How great and what a great pleasure it is to see all the children of God under this roof talk to one another in the same language. And we've mentioned the national coat of arms of Kazakhstan, and that's an eagle. An eagle takes care of its offspring. Likewise, God is like an eagle, a heavenly eagle that gives us shelter under its wings. It gives us shelter under His wings of love, of friendship. And those are the most important feelings generated by this Congress. But let us not limit ourselves only to words. Please, paramount religious leaders from all over the world, this is the concluding session of this Congress, after which all of us will go home to our communities, to our faithful, to our parishes. Please make your voice heard. Raise your voice every time you see in your countries even the smallest sign of anti-Semitism. In Judaism, there is a rule that a sin begets sin. Every episode of anti-Semitism that goes unnoticed engenders and begets other episodes, a multitude of other episodes of anti-Semitism. Please, please, for the sake of God, let us not do so that Jews in the free world be afraid of their neighbors. Let's raise our voice against this evil of anti-Semitism, which is rearing its head in many countries of the world. Wake up, wake others up, fight against anti-Semitism, and this will make a dent in reducing anti-Semitism all over the world. In Judaism, there is this concept that silence means assent. If you are silent in the face of anti-Semitism, you can do that only for two reasons. Either you agree with anti-Semitism or you think it's harmless. But it is not harmless. It is indeed harmful. Even the smallest deed or word of anti-Semitism Our role is not to be silent, but our role is to break the chain of crimes against humanity. We are all children of the same God. We all came from Adam and Eve. We're all progeny of Adam and Eve. We all can influence this world. And thank you, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, that you have gathered us all here with your appeal. And we will come back to our countries, to our communities, to our faithful. And once again, please don't forget, let this message slip your mind. This prayer that we all say to God every morning, for God to bless this whole world. Thank you very much, Rabbi, for your excellent presentation, for your excellent intervention, for your contribution in building the interfaith dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants of the forum, now I would like to give the floor to President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev with his concluding remarks at the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions. Cherished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the homeland of the Kazakhs has been for 2 days at the epicenter of a constructive dialogue. Respected faith leaders of the world have gathered here under one roof. You have traveled from remote corners of the world to unite efforts of all mankind for common goals. This demonstrates the importance of interfaith cooperation and understanding for the strengthening of peace, stability, and connectivity among different civilizations. Many a nuanced and constructive opinion has been put forth at the Congress. I'm convinced that all of them will reflect positively on our efforts to achieve a harmonious world. I am eternally grateful to all of you, worldwide paramount spiritual leaders gathered here today. Gratitude is equally due to political figures and representatives of international organizations supporting our initiative. I also thank all the diplomats, volunteers, journalists, and all those instrumental for the success of the forum.
Dear Congress participants, our forum has taken place at a unique and highly consequential global moment. It's historic in its own way. As we face an increasingly turbulent geopolitical post-pandemic world, it becomes more crucial to develop new approaches to strengthening inter-civilizational dialogue and trust at the global level. I believe today's forum has made a significant contribution to this vital ongoing work. On behalf of the people of Kazakhstan, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to His Holiness Pope Francis for his historic visit to our country and participation in the work of the Congress. We are confident that your passionate voice and strong message will be a source of inspiration and hope for many millions around the world. Осы орайда аса қадірлі Рим папасы Франциске елімізге тарихи сапармен келгені үшін Қазақстан халқының
I would like to thank
жеке өз атымнан тағы да шынайы алғыс білдіремін.
Pope Francis
Өзіңіздің
for his historic visit to Kazakhstan.
зор мәртебе. Сіздің әлем жұртшылығына арнаған үндеуіңіз
And your presence here and active participation in the activities of our Congress has been a true blessing.
have shared their perspectives, offered valuable ideas, and generated insightful proposals on many pressing issues. Most importantly, they have focused their thoughts on peace and cooperation between faith and peoples. We have collectively condemned both power politics and hate speech, which contribute to the mutual alienation of nations, the erosion of states, and the degradation of international relations. Today, as never before, it's vital to put to good use the peacemaking potential of religions, to unite the efforts of spiritual authorities in search of long-term stability. All faiths are based on humanistic ideals, recognition of the supreme value of human life, and the aspiration for peace and creation. These fundamental principles must be reflected not only in the spiritual area, but also in the socio-economic development of states and international politics. One of the most important topics was how to overcome inequalities of all kinds, since they are a source of national upheavals and global crises. Special emphasis was placed on digital and gender issues, on the importance of education, and on the role of religion in eliminating social divides. Another fundamental objective was the search for ways to strike a balance between economic growth and spiritual and moral progress. I am convinced that religious leaders can and must insist on simultaneous and complementary spiritual and technological development. Dear participants, as we conclude our work together here, I am convinced that spiritual leaders can and will help in overcoming the contradictions of the modern world and in achieving greater well-being for all humanity. A meaningful and highly detailed declaration has been adopted at the conclusion of this Congress. This important document covers fundamental issues and can serve as a guide for governments, political leaders, and international organizations. Our joint task is to consistently promote the concepts and principles of the declaration. I also believe it is necessary to prepare a concept document for the development of the Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions for the years 2023-2033. This concept document should include concrete steps and stages in further strengthening the influence of our forum. In line with its domestic and foreign policy priorities, Kazakhstan will fully support the consistent activities of the Congress. Our aim remains to promote an open dialogue among civilizations and to strengthen peace and stability. Once again, my sincere gratitude to all of you, and let's work together for the sake of peace, tolerance, and cooperation. I wish everyone well-being and peaceful life.
Құрметті Қасым-Жомарт Кемелұлы, съезге қатысып, мазмұнды
Mr. President, President Tokayev, we thank you. We extend you our most sincere gratitude for your participation in this forum and for your meaningful interventions at this forum in promoting the ideas of peace and dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, cherished guests, I would like to thank all the heads of delegations of the Congress for your valuable support and contribution towards strengthening dialogue between peoples, nations, and religions. On behalf of the Secretariat of the Congress, I also would like to once again emphasize our readiness to promote the ideas and the principles set forth in the declaration. This declaration will be disseminated as an official document at the 77th session of the UN General Assembly. The Secretariat also will start development of the concept of which President Tokayev has talked about, development of the Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions as a unique dialogue platform for 2023-2033. This document will also feature your ideas and proposals, also feature the conclusions of the discussions that have taken place this time at the Congress.
аса қасиетті папасы Франциск,
President Tokayev, Your Holiness Pope Francis, Most Reverend Fathers, I hope that because of your goodwill in the world now, there will be greater
форумның барлық қатысушылары
yearning for peace and solidarity. Once again, I would like to thank all the participants and guests of the forum. And on this note, I would like to officially conclude the deliberations of the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions. Thank you for gracing us with your presence once again, and have a safe trip.
Қазақ елінде қайта кездескенше аман болыңыздар.
Until our new meetings on Kazakh land.